Welcome to the Fredonia School Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, December 13th. We start every meeting with a pledge to the flag. As you can see, I'm standing in for Mr. Aldrich tonight. It is his custom usually to bring a student to the front, but I think we'll forego that tonight and we'll simply move into the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a consent agenda tonight. We also have something that is going to be pulled to the beginning of the meeting. That's not consent, but first off, we'll go through the consent agenda. So could I have a motion to bring that to the table? Mr. Hawk and Ms. Balforna. Should I bring that other one forward first? Okay. So I'm suggesting we bring the tenure appointment for Madeline Mueller, which is item 7B, personnel, to the beginning of the meeting, so that we can approve that after we hear from the public. So are there any questions on that, first of all? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next. Oh, okay. The board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual. Concerns and comments during the session should be directly related to items listed on the proposed agenda for the meeting. Audience members seeking a response should complete a board correspondence sheet and return this to District Clerk Christine Slagle. So is there anyone that would like to address the board tonight? I get the feeling there is.
Andy Ludwig, 30 Ryan Place. First thing I'd like to talk about is access to the agenda on the website. Had a real difficult time finding the agenda on the website tonight. I wanted to check the agenda so I could see where the things I was going to speak to were located. So maybe if you could take a look at the new website and see. You have to go through several steps to get to this. With the old website, you go right to district, and then you go to board, and then it would have board agendas right there. You've got to go through several other steps. You have to go to documents and then back to district, and it's kind of cumbersome. So maybe see if you can make that a little bit easier to find. The reason I'm here is because I wanted to speak to the presentation you're going to have on Trap Club by Jerry Kinney. I've known Jerry Kinney, literally I watched him grow up, cut the grass at the house next door to him when he was born. I was about 10. I watched him grow up. Lo and behold, he ends up as a student in my class. Lo and behold, later on, one of his boys is in the middle school my last year here. Fine young man, fine grown man. Now he's got kids of his own. Quality person, the kind of person that you want leading a trap club. And I think a trap club is a great opportunity to get a certain segment of our population that maybe isn't there anymore. We don't have as many hunters, gun enthusiasts. You want kids, young people, to learn proper use of firearms from fine people like Jerry Kinney. So I'm looking forward to hearing from him tonight. And as a taxpayer, I want to express my support for the Trap Club. And then, because I got this late, I was kind of skimming through it. And something I've sort of asked about, this will be the third year. It just turned up on, by coincidence, because it's not the reason that I'm here. But let's see which agenda item it is. It's the one about the administrative coaching. $28,000 for administrative coaching. I think last year it was 25. The year before it was 20. Your administrators ever, graduate from coaching? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Ludwig. Always good to see you. Thanks for your comments. And yes, we're excited about exploring the opportunities for TRAP. Also, in my superintendent's report a little bit later, I can address some of the coaching questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ludwig, and thank you for pointing out the website. We'll look at that, so thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to speak tonight? Okay. Bear with me. This is my first time. So we're up to item 7B. So we're moving that forward. Oh, we did move that forward, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Madeline Mueller, who has initial certification in students with disabilities, grades 7 through 12, this is item 7B. We're here to appoint tenure tonight for her. I believe she's present. So can I have a motion to bring that to the table? Mr. Powell-Fulton?
Second.
Mr. Marshall, thank you. Dr. Ziliaks?
Yeah, I just want to make a few comments. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Troutman, who works a little bit more closely with Ms. Mueller. But, each day I try to get out in the building. I spend quite a bit of time in the middle school, just kind of stopping by classrooms, chatting, and just kind of observing what's happening. And oftentimes I've run into, or at least seen in action in the classroom, Ms. Mueller. And I think there's a couple things that come to my mind. Number one is just a hardworking individual. And any time that I've seen her or watched her interact with our students or performing her job responsibilities, it's clear that she's prepared, it's clear that she's engaged, and it's clear that she is wasting no time throughout the day really focusing on instruction. I also appreciate the energy and the attitude, kind of a quiet confidence, but also you see the care for students and her really taking her job seriously and engaging in that process of teaching and helping students adjust and adapt and also grow as individuals. Now, she cuts across a couple different other personnel here. I want to turn over to Ms. Troutman, but also to Ms. Farrow, who is involved with our special education department, for anybody else who would like to share any thoughts.
Sure. We are very fortunate to have Madeline. She started with us in our grades 5, 6, 12, 1, 1 classroom, and she did an amazing job with those kids. And this last year, we needed somebody to move to 7th grade as a co-teacher, and so we kind of convinced her to do that. She wasn't real sure if she wanted to, but I will tell you, she is just doing an amazing job, and we are so pleased with her transition into that grade level. The teachers that she works with say nothing but amazing things about all the work she's doing to help build that team. Our kids love her. She's great with the kids, and we are so very happy that she's part of the middle school.
Madeline student taught in Fredonia as well, so we were happy to train her and happy to hire her on. Several years ago in her classroom, I've been in there. She builds relationships with kids. She has great relationships with parents. She has a really strong command of special education in terms of developing individual plans. She's always well prepared and always well spoken, and we're very fortunate to have her. Congratulations, Madeline.
Well, thank you, Ms. Mueller. Any words for us tonight, or?
No, just thank you. I've really enjoyed my last 4 years here, and I can't wait to have many more within the Fredonia community. I really love it here. Thank you so much.
So could I have a motion to, no, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So that brings us to special presentations, and we have two tonight. We do have the Trap Club coming up, but first we have the Fredonia Forum Newsletter Partnership, which sounds very exciting, and Ms. Slagle, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to move the camera here a little bit. You guys can come forward if you like. So thank you, everybody. I just want to quickly start by saying thank you to Dr. Ziliaks, thank you to our admin team, and thank you to our board because you have always supported our communications program here at Fredonia ever since I started almost 5 years ago. This is something that's been a goal of mine, and it has been a team effort. So I really appreciate that it's always been something the board has supported and encouraged, and as well as my team. So I am so excited to have with me tonight Dr. Gerber from SUNY Fredonia and some of her students. I wanted to just briefly tell you a little bit about this partnership and how it started. So back in fall of 2019, I went back to my emails today to see exactly when this was. She reached out to me, she gave me a call, introduced herself, said she's a parent of the district, and let me know that she, as a community member and a parent, had received our newsletter in the mail, and was very kind in praising it and letting me know how she felt about it and how she felt that this could be a partnership that we might start together. And this is truly mutually beneficial. So her classes throughout the years have taken our newsletter, the draft of our newsletter, and copy edited it. And it has been such a learning process for me to even know what that means. And they're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. It is not simply going and fixing errors on something. It is so much more than that. And I have gotten a real understanding and a real appreciation for what that looks like. So they put hours and hours and hours into this. They spend their entire semester on this project. It's their final project. It's a big deal for them. So I am so appreciative of that because it makes me better as well. So I learn things from them that I take and put into each issue. And it's really been very cool. So, you know, to have them support our mission, vision, and core belief feeling of, you know, this communication with positive intent, you know, this has been something that really supports that and goes right along, right hand in hand with that. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gerber, and you guys are going to hear from the students, which of course is what we all want to hear. So thank you, everybody.
Hi, this is a privilege, and I'm going to speak very briefly so that the students take most of the time. I want to say thank you to Ms. Slagle and thank you to Dr. Ziliaks. As a parent in the district, as a professor, I feel so much more connected to the school. It's been a privilege throughout my children's lives to see just how hard everyone works and to see not only the newsletter, but the s'mores, all of the communication that goes out, and knowing how challenging that is with all of the other deadlines running continuously, and to be able to give the students an opportunity for hands-on learning and for a byline. It's extraordinary. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Anna Vallone. I'm actually a former Fredonia High School graduate, so this project was really fun for me. It was really awesome to be able to see the inner workings of creating the Fredonia Forum, which is something that I used to read because it really, truly embodies those vision statements that you guys were talking about earlier. So we would all like to applaud Ms. Slagle really quick for all the hard work that she's put into this project. It is insane the amount of work that she puts into the Fredonia Forum and the weekly s'mores. So not only did she continue creating this project, but she also created an updated website this year. So it's incredible how time-intensive compiling her own writing, gathering articles or ideas from colleagues, editing everything for an error-free product. It's just crazy. There's so much more that happens behind the scenes compared to what the audience sees in the finished product. So we would also like to applaud Dr. Ziliaks' efforts to communicate with everyone. The letter from the superintendent is consistently in the Fredonia Forum, and it's nice to see him communicating with parents, faculty and staff, community, and students. Seeing the superintendent's message is important and valuable, as it strengthens relationships and fosters a connection within the community by allowing everyone to see what is happening in the district. We believe that it's important to connect the college and the high school districts, as it makes people feel more connected. This will also help set goals for future opportunities. College students being involved with the local high school will help students at the college feel like they belong in town, and will help the town see the college students actively take part in their community.
Hello, I'm Nick. coming from a much smaller district where everyone knows everyone, I'd like to say it is great to see how much time and effort is taken into connecting and communicating with every single member, not just students, but parents, families, everyone in the district. This project has granted us experience learning about district communication and opportunities to connect via different mediums and for different audiences, apologies. High school students will be able to see the opportunities they can have at SUNY Fredonia. Feel free to come if you want. We believe that bringing a food pantry to the school and respectively advertising its resources is extremely valuable. This has ensured that any student has free access to it and take whatever they need without judgment. The project itself participates in supporting the sense of culture of belonging. You've been conscious of representing every grade level, including diversity, and events occurring that are both academic and non-academic. We also appreciate the representation of the faculty and staff, creating the sense of a cohesive district.
My name is Liv Rohrig, and I'm excited to say that I will be a postgraduate intern here at the Fredonia Central School District. And I want to talk about what editors actually do. Editors check for clarity, coherence, consistency, and correctness. It's not just grammar, even though grammar is the hardest part. There's also style, rules, checking sources, and preference of the client to take into consideration when editing a document.
My name is Samika, and I'm a recent SUNY Fredonia graduate. I would like to talk about what is challenging about copy editing. We all would like to put an input on what is challenging about copy editing.
How much work actually goes into editing? It's like being the Wizard of Oz. Where was behind the curtain?
So editing also takes a lot of time and experience with grammar. To recall grammar from our past can be really time consuming, as well as relearning proper grammar rules. Then we have to recognize in practices like this that it's important to know how to determine what is wrong with sentences and to be able to fix it without introducing new errors.
Hi, my name is Abby. We spent a lot of time working on the proper communication through multiple different editors. There was a lot of work regarding communication between us as a class and with us with Ms. Slagle regarding the specifics in editing the Fredonia Forum.
There's also lots of research and double-checking information with multiple resources. We have to make sure that the correct information is being given, even down to specific words, checking to make sure that the proper spelling is being used.
I'm Caitlin, and that means essentially spending hours on a single page, which is fun for me, but I can see where it can be time-consuming and annoying at times.
It's also a lot of coffee drinking and checking multiple manuals that usually conflict.
I'm Max, and as editors, we're also looking through for all those fine details, trying to make sure that everything works together and everybody kind of understands the message we're trying to say.
Personally, I'd have to say the most challenging part of copy editing is remembering every single specific symbol used, like to indicate maybe there's a typo or something is lowercase. I tend to just want to cross things off and go, this is right, this is wrong, or whatever. But there's like certain symbols to indicate a typo or what should be lowercase, what should be uppercase, and all that. And really remembering all of those is kind of challenging.
So how do copy editors make all of these decisions? We have access to multiple resources, such as style guides like the Chicago Manual of Style, our Copy Editor's Handbook, and many other manuals, including the FCSD website, the Rotary Club website, and sports websites.
We're constantly using these resources to try to, in style guides, to to know our current issues of our client or our client. For example, we're checking social media preferences of uses of logos and things of that nature.
One key things that editors have to remember, it's not our manuscript. Yeah, we need to edit following the client's preference to style and everything else. And you're going to need to make space in your drive. You're going to need it.
The process consists of editing content while also addressing opportunities to broaden the sense of belonging in every capacity with students, the community in general, and activities. It allows for the Fredonia family members to be aware of the opportunities available to them, and even allows students like myself at the college to understand the opportunities that might be available to us.
So in all of this, we'd especially like to thank you for this hands-on experience and the ability to practice editing an actual document that's going out and being published. Although at times this project to us felt more like a challenge and better suited for more experienced editors, the Fredonia Forum has given us abundance of resources that will help out with our communication skills. We recognize and applaud your continuous production of long documents quickly and efficiently. We are also very grateful for the opportunity to make connections. Specifically, some of our classmates, Liv, and then our classmate back here, Mara, have been committed to internships here, so within the district. And I'd also like to praise that this is an awesome way and also deserves recognition that it's a fantastic way to continue to add to your Fredonia family.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gerber. Students from SUNY Fredonia and our very own Ms. Slagle. Are there any questions from the board?
Oh, sorry, we just have just a little bit more praise. Sorry, we got more praise.
I'll take it.
I'll say it on it.
Yeah, just a little more praise.
Just a little bit. We appreciate your given time to work with us and your active participation with us throughout this fall semester. It's been really helpful that it wasn't just a project being thrown at us, but instead you provided clarity to us about your goals and what you wanted to achieve here. There was a repeated message from Ms. Slagle and Dr. Zeliaks that they take our edits and suggestions into consideration and read them very carefully. This reassurance goes a long way for us, for the amount of work that editors do should never go unrecognized. Therefore, your shown appreciation for our work makes us feel valued, accomplished, and professional, especially here presenting to you.
And then one more huge thank you for our recognition and being credited on the back of the Fredonia Forum. All of our names were actually posted on the back of the Fredonia Forum, so this gives us that feeling of professionalism as well, which was amazing, so thank you. And then this presentation also wouldn't have happened today without the help and guidance of our awesome professor, Dr. Gerber. And then lastly, we'd like to thank the board today for coming out and taking the time to listen to our presentation today. So thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like the person that applauded in the middle of a song. But are there any questions, comments from the board on the presentation? Well, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, situation. Now what? We have a trap club presentation. Dr. Zeliaks?
Oh, yeah. You know, we have done a couple things as a district. One of those things is updated our mission, vision, and core beliefs. And one of the things we've been talking about is being innovative, being dynamic, and being global in terms of the learning experience we're offering our students. One of the things I always put, or usually put, or often put at the end of my communication is feel free to touch base anytime with questions, concerns, or ideas. And you'd be surprised at how many people do come forward with ideas. For example, Mr. Kinney came forward with some communication saying, you know, I noticed this is happening in some local school districts. I think there'd be a place for this in Fredonia, and I think it connects to some of the things that you're doing around innovation and being global, but being dynamic, thinking about diversity, thinking about inclusion. All of those things can be seen in this presentation tonight with really the idea of offering something new, something different for the students here at Fredonia. I appreciate Mr. Kinney being here tonight and sharing some thoughts with us. He also provided a PowerPoint as well as several handouts which the board has in their backup materials, so they've had a chance to take a look at those materials. So without any further ado, please take it away, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Kinney. I reside at 3326 Straight Road. I've lived in the community for, I hate to say 50 years now, a stone's throw away. So I'm in the same graduating class as Mrs. Fort now. So as far as TRAP, bringing up this proposal. This initially started over the summer for me. Researching it began when my two sons and I decided to go to Hanover Rod and Gun Club to shoot trap. I hadn't done it in years. And lo and behold, unknown to me, Forestville Schools does have a trap team, including Gowanda and Evans, and there's over 130 schools in New York State that presently do have a trap team. So that's how it initially began. Trap is a 5-station shooting sport, and that map kind of represents it. The center little square building is your trap house, and each individual student would be at station 1 through 5. And as the line goes, you shoot 1 round at station 1, and it rotates around. You shoot 5 clay birds at each individual station for a total of 25 birds. So it's the amount of birds you break out of 25 is basically your score. And the birds fly at about 45 miles an hour. And I know the biggest concern that the board or the school or the students or parents may have is safety. So one clip that I wasn't able to put up was I actually took a video of my son when he was on his line for Forestville shooting, and from the point that the gun is physically loaded to the point that it's actually discharged is 5 to 7 seconds. So for the gun to physically be able to fire, I'd say 4 seconds, because you have to close the action, you have to bring your shotgun up to the ready, then you take your safety off. So it is very safety oriented. Once that round is discharged, the next student goes. So that student doesn't load until the one to his left is already shot. So the students aren't all sitting there with a loaded firearm, literally 5 to 7 seconds that it's loaded. Since 2001, there's been over 70,000 participants in this sport. And out of that 70,000 participants, they've used 70 million rounds. And to date, they have 0 injuries. I know I presented a slide in there, and it shows the safety statistics from baseball all the way up through football, and it does show the amount of injuries, with trap being 0 at this point. As far as, and we don't have to go back to the other slide, but the students are required to wear their eye and ear protection, obviously. And then as far as coaching, you have to have 1 coach per 10 students. With Forestville, they did very well. They had anywhere from, on a light night, 4 coaches to 6 coaches that they would have. When the kids were at their practice night, you would have 1 coach that is pushing the button when the students call bird. They would push the button to release the bird, and you'd have at least 2 coaches on the line. On a scoring night, it's a little bit different. You still would have that coach running the throwing of the birds. You would have a range safety officer on the line, because on a scoring night, you're not allowed to coach the kids. What they've learned up to that point is on them for that evening, okay? As far as requirements to be on the team, this handsome young lad is my doing. This is my son Aiden. So he hadn't quite got his hat or his team shirt for Forestville yet, but students have to be in grades 6 through 12 and have to be 12 years old and up. Some folks may think that that's young. Aiden has been target shooting probably since he's been 9 years old. He's 12 now when he was shooting for Forestville. I've been in law enforcement since 2000, so just about 23 years now. I'd put my son up against most of the officers that I work with, and he'd either run right with them or be even safer. He's very safety oriented. when you get a new person involved in a sport such as this, it's better to start them out young and teach them the right habits versus down the road. And Aiden is doing quite well at this. They have to have good academic standing, and just like any sport at Fredonia, they have to follow the policies and protocols as any other team sport here at Fredonia. And then as far as firearm safety, they have to complete a firearm safety course or a New York State hunter education course. To do the hunter education course, they can do that online now. It does cost the student $25. But I also, in my line of work, I have taught a few hunter education courses, and I actually know 2 to 3 of the instructors where, if need be, if it's a cost savings to the kids, the course would have to be offered to the public, but I would also be able to get the students into a course where it would be more hands-on. The track team schedule, they do have a 6-week fall season. They also have, what I'm shooting for, pardon the pun, is a 9-week spring trap season. So it's not a 5-day-a-week type sport. You have one day during the week where you have practice. You would shoot 2 rounds of trap for a total of 50 birds. And then you would also do one night for score. So for Forestville, for instance, Tuesday was practice night, Thursday was for score. On your score night at Hanover, you were hoping that it wouldn't be windy, and my son Aiden can attest to it, because the wind is horrible at Hanover. 1 minute the bird's there, and a split second later it's risen 3 feet just because the wind's so bad at that course. And then students, if their other sport allows it, they can do dual sports if their schedule does allow it. As far as costs, cost to the school is zero. There is no cost. There is a $35 registration fee to the New York State High School Target League. That covers their general liability insurance. I threw $35 in there for a team shirt and hat. If a hat's not necessary, I'd like to have that not be in it for the students, because more money in their pocket in this day and age is better, seeing that the cost of things are going up. There's a $25 fee if they choose to do their hunter safety course online. The gun club that would take us in, I've already spoke with South Shore Rod and Gun, and they are willing to have the students participate there. They do have one trap house. They would have a $10 registration fee, and depending on certain clubs, South Shore has been very generous where they would charge $4 per round for the trap, versus other clubs are anywhere from $5 to $7. And then approximate cost for the spring is about $180, or I'm sorry, fall is $180, the spring is $225. As far as raising money, I would kind of follow suit with what Forestville does. They do can drives. This year they estimate they'll be bringing in about $3,000 just in a can drive. They do hold a raffle, which was basically Applebee's gift card, Walmart, Cabela's, things of that nature, and they were selling tickets at approximately $10 a piece. They sold over 300 tickets, which was another $3,000. And then obviously, and I forgot to bring it, I did have a petition that nearly 200 folks had signed, and actually they signed it in approval of it, that they thought it was a good idea, and I was actually shocked to have folks say that, well, if this goes through, come back and see me because I would like to contribute toward it. And then obviously a school account is started for the funds that are raised. Things to consider for the school. There's no building maintenance, grounds, machinery costs. There's no utilities, cleaners. As far as traditional sports where you have a bus take the students to the event, the parents would obviously be bringing the students to South Shore. And I should back up a little bit. Obviously, ammunition, firearms, that all stays home. The students will be well aware of none of that obviously comes on the grounds. I don't even want a spent shotgun case on the grounds. That stuff is to stay home. They don't receive any ammunition until they're literally walking up to the line. So no bus drivers, vehicle maintenance, or diesel costs, no chaperones. And again, I've said it's proven to be one of the safest sports for the schools. And they do have over 300 colleges that offer scholarships and league scholarships as well.
Just a couple of things, Jerry, and we'll open it up to some questions or comments. First of all, note that there's no resolution on the board agenda tonight. We are in the mode of listening and learning and considering, and we're definitely open to this idea. But we are proceeding cautiously, and all the safety protocols that you mentioned are certainly very important to us. I think the fact that there will never be anything on school grounds or in the building is extremely, any of our buildings, extremely helpful. And I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but the other thing I was imagining was two teams at one location engaging in this. But how it works is that our team would go shoot at our facility by themselves, and the team that we would be shooting against that night would be at their facility doing the same thing. So there's not a time when there's two teams that, things can, a few more people to manage. That wouldn't be part of this. This is two separate locations, and our people are taking care of our students, and there's that relationship and connection there. So, again, your thoroughness has been appreciated. I think you've probably addressed either in your materials or through what you've shared tonight, many of the questions that have come forward. But anything else from the board tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Kinney. Really thorough. I guess I'm just trying to understand how it fits in. Is it considered part of our athletic program? And so it's under, is it a club, an extracurricular? What's kind of, which umbrella does it fit under?
Yeah, so normally with something new, we start things as a club.
Okay.
And basically that gives a chance for the club to demonstrate there's an interest, to demonstrate that this can work, and that we've been thorough and thoughtful about how we're approaching it, that it potentially is sustainable over time. And that's the phase that we're in right now. More long-term, could it be something that we consider to be part of some other aspect of our school? That could be a possibility, sure.
And part of the process, secondary part of the process would be the next step, is that any club that's approaching the board for approval has to have a statement of purpose, officers, someone in charge of advisor constitutions, all of that is in play depending on what the board decides on.
And I guess just, to follow that, along with that, with club approval, typically there would be funds that would support that? I mean, we have different club, or it varies, or?
Yeah, not initially as part of a club, and as a new club, that's part of that sustainability and kind of, proof of concept kind of mindset. And it goes from there. And as you can imagine, some of the clubs that there's some initial momentum around kind of dissipates, and other ones really gain momentum, and then there could be a time that we consider a next step or a different way of funding and or categorizing the team.
When would a decision be needed in order to meet the spring season?
For the amount, so if you were to have a 15-student team, you would need approximately 60 cases of shells to be able to participate in the spring season. The sooner the better. It would be a little bit tight, but I think with the community support and the folks that I've spoke to, businesses, donations and so forth, I think it's doable. 3 months is going to be a little bit snug, but I do think it's attainable as far as funds.
And is there a league registration deadline, like to be?
Yes, I believe with the information that Mr. Ziliaks had on the last 2 pages, it does spell out signups and so forth.
I'll review that again.
And then one thing I did forget to mention, this is a co-ed sport. All of the students participate, and with Forestville, they had 13 students participating in the fall season. And of that 13, there was 5 ladies that shot. And I tell you what, there was 2 or 3 that regularly were placing and scoring and giving the boys quite the run for the money. And it was nice to see that co-ed team, because I was never involved in sports. You know me from when we were kids, I wasn't involved in sports. This I would have been, and it was just a nice thing to see that both groups held their own, and then, like I said, they gave the boys a run for their money pretty good. And I know there's been mentions of mergers, potentially going to Forestville. The dilemma with that is the time constraint, because both Hanover and South Shore only have 1 trap house. It takes about an hour to run I should back up, 15 kids, 3 lines, 5 students apiece, 20 minutes per line, 6 times through, you're looking at 2 hours. So if it's spring and fall, if the amount of students doesn't cause a time constraint, the lack of daylight does, so that's why a merger really can't work, unfortunately.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a follow-up to what Lisa asked, and I didn't quite get a timeline as to what you need for a start date on this.
So as far as a start date, let me get to the back page here because I have to refresh my memory as well. So sign-ups, registration opens February 1st, and then registration closes March 20th. The first practice week is March 26th. So if this got approved beginning of January, mid-January, you'd have just under 3 months to be able to raise the funds. Federal does give a discount as far as this type of program. I'd have to see when orders have to be in, but I like backup plans. I've spoke with the new store in Cassadaga to where they aren't quite as cheap as Federal, but they're very close, and I can go get it quickly. And as far as storage and so forth, with ammunition, obviously I keep an inventory. I have a heated building at my residence that I know you know of. I'd be more than happy to be the storage facility. And obviously I could bring that to South Shore as well.
And so another question, I believe it was Forestville, Gowanda, and Evans?
Yes.
All right. What do they have for participation?
As far as how
many students?
as far as students, Forestville had 13 for their fall season. They anticipate 18 to 20 for their spring season. Gowanda, I believe they shoot at Evans, and they have 2 trap houses, so they can take on more students, and I know they've had over 30 students at a time for their spring season. I haven't spoke with the coach for Gowanda to see what his spring numbers are looking like.
So this is starting to take a little movement then. I mean, we have competition.
Yes, I'd agree. Okay. And then as far as Mr. Ziliaks explained, 2 schools aren't physically at the same location. And basically the students place their score, and then I would enter those online, and that's how they do the scorekeeping. And for the fall season, for instance, with Forestville, they had approximately 6 to 8 schools in their group that they scored against, and I believe they ended up 3rd for the fall season.
And do you have an idea of participation in our school?
Speaking with parents and so forth, off the top of my head, and that's just kids that I know that I believe would be interested or have shown interest, there's at least 10 kids right out of the gates, and that's without word traveling very far. And being that Fredonia is a larger school system, I think attaining initially starting out, I wouldn't want to be any more than 15. I think 15 students would be easily attainable.
And what is it, 5 to 10 you need for a team?
You need, I believe, I'd have to double check, I believe 5 students to begin. So you'd definitely be well past 5.
Okay.
I have no doubt you'd fall between 5 and 10 easily, or I'm sorry, 10 and 15.
Thank you. It was very thorough.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that, all the information. So I guess my question now will be to Mr. Zeliak, because our question will be with the information, what wrinkles do we need to work out to do that?
Yeah, so I think the main thing we're still finalizing is Mr. Forbes has been good working with our insurance company to make sure we have everything in line there, and there wouldn't be anything that would be not covered or somehow put us in some type of liable situation. There's just a few details there. Again, as Mr. Kinney is saying, there's other schools involved in this, so we're not breaking new ground here, but we're just being thorough. Again, we're being cautious. We're taking it one step at a time. I would think that we would have any unanswered questions within the next week.
So would you and Mr. Forbes be able to send that to the board members so that we would be able to review it, ask questions?
Yep, I could include that in the next update or the one the following week. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. Kidney, I had a lot of questions, but you answered all of them.
Thank you, sir.
Except for one.
Okay.
Possibly, you probably mentioned it, I just didn't pick it up possibly, but how do students and more importantly the firearms get to the range?
So as far as transportation to the range, it would be on the student's parents or guardian, and then they would transport to the range. And with new laws taking effect toward the end of this month, things would change a little bit as far as storage and so forth, which if you'd like to know, I can tell you that. So as far as transporting the firearms to the range, some folks are confused and feel that they need to be locked up in a case when they're being transported in a vehicle. Long as there is a person in that vehicle at all times, it's fine. It doesn't need to be locked in a case, but obviously, in my mind, out of sight, out of mind is better. I would prefer to see them in a case, one for safety, for the people in the vehicle, outside the vehicle, and then securing it so it doesn't get damaged. And if folks choose not to put it in a case, they can't stop at, say, the country fair when practice is done and run in and grab it. They both get out of the car and run in and grab a soda. Even though the vehicle's locked, if it's not in a secured case, it'll be in violation of the new laws coming up. So in my mind, out of sight, out of mind in a secured case, I would prefer.
Okay, and so private vehicle, parent, guardian,
Correct.
Transport them, not carpooling?
With Forestville, they actually did have parents that one parent would bring 2 or 3 kids. There were students that were 17, 18 years old that did drive a short distance to the club, but 9 times out of 10 it was parents bringing their student to Hanover Rod and Gun. And then the nice thing to see was, I would say easily 50% of the parents would stay and watch the practice or watch their children score.
Jerry, sorry, just to follow up, Mr. Johnston, but you would have all the ammunition, so they're transporting their
Correct.
Their firearm, but
It would just be their firearm. I would be the one that would be having the ammunition secured at my house, so there wouldn't be, each student wouldn't be going home with their allotment, so to speak. They would only have enough for that evening, and when they left the line, they would be empty.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kinney, for coming in. That was extremely thorough.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Sorry,
appreciate
it's
your
a matter of habit. Have a good evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, well, that brings us to approving the minutes from the last meeting. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor? And a second? Oh, Mr. Hawk, okay, thank you. All those in favor, or are there any questions at all?
Yeah, I've got one question. Did you notice any minutes for the audit committee this time or from the previous time? I haven't seen anything from the policy committee as far as minutes. Is that something we're not doing any longer?
That's a good question. How?
So we typically don't do policy committee minutes. John, do you want to speak to the audit thing?
Yeah, I just forgot to do it. I saw a sheet today. I'm like, wow, too late now. So we'll get those to the next meeting for you.
I think in policy, when I was on it, they did.
Okay. Our policy meeting is tomorrow, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, financial treasurer's report. I need a motion and a second to take this, to remove items 6A and B off the table. So could I have a motion? Mr. Hawk, second? Ms. Cullo? And now that leads us to the external, or do we need to?
We just need all those in favor for that.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And now that moves us into our 2021-22 external audit report. I think we have Ms. Napoli here tonight to speak on that.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Laura Napoli, and I'm with Baggett and Laredo Baggett. We are your external auditor. I'm going to try to be brief because you had some great presentations tonight. I have thoroughly gone through the audit report with your audit committee, Mr. Ziliaks and Mr. Forbes, so we've gone through most of this in really great detail. The purpose of an external audit is to state whether the financial statements of the district are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Page 2 of the report is the audit report that does state that the district is in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. It is an unmodified report, which is the best report that you can receive in an audit report. There was one change in accounting principle that we had to account for this year. It is called GASB 87. It's also listed in your report, and it references the note that you can take a look at to see what changed in your financials. GASB 87 refers to accounting for leases. So the district has some leases that haven't been really accounted for in the financial statements in the past, just the expenditures have been accounted for on a year-to-year basis. Now we record the assets and the expenditures in the accrual basis financials. Leases that we had to include were mostly through BOCES equipment leases. The other leases that you have are year-to-year and didn't fall under the standard. Your financial statements really start on pages 20 and 21. Those are the government-wide financial statements. Those are the full accrual financial statements, which show all of your assets, all the district's assets and liabilities. The regular financials that you guys are used to seeing are not full accrual. They're considered modified accrual. And that's really how you work with, you don't consider your full fixed assets and liabilities, full liabilities in your regular financials and in your budget. So the financials that you guys use really start on page number 22. If you notice on page 22, turn to the page, you have your balance sheet for your general fund, which is the operating fund, your special aid fund, which accounts for federal and state grant revenues and expenditures, your school lunch fund, and your capital projects fund, which accounts for any capital projects of the district. I would like to point out your fund balance in your general fund. You had restricted funds of $1.692 million. On page number 42, it lists out what's included in that. Those are all the reserves of the district. The district did have a couple of changes in its reserves. The capital projects reserve increased by $150,000, and you also added a TRS reserve of $300,000. So those are funds that are set aside for specific instances where you might need some additional funds to cover those costs as costs increase. So those funds are considered restricted. The next part of your fund balance is the assigned fund balance. That's $1,052,000. $1 million was set aside in the 22-23 budget to reduce taxes. The other $52,000 are small encumbrances that are purchases that started in year 21-22 but really won't get paid for till 22-23. So we reserve a portion of the budget of 21-22 to cover those costs. It doesn't count against your 22-23 budget. The last number there is your unassigned fund balance at $2.467 million. That is 7.73% of your next year's budget. The state says you're supposed to be within at 4%. You're a little bit over. Part of the reason that it's at 7.73, last year it was 12.95%. It went down a little bit because you did increase your reserve funds, and the money that was appropriated for the 21-22 budget was used. If you go to page number, I think it's 25. 25 are the revenues and expenditures for the district for the year for your operating funds. It's your general fund. Your revenues increased by about 3%. Expenditures increased by about 7.5%. You did have expenditures in excess of revenues. Again, that was the use of your fund balance that you had planned on during the budget for 21-22. Special aid fund, those are reimbursable grants, so the expenditures are covered by grant funds, so there's no profit and loss. Your school lunch fund had about a $510,000 profit, so the district has been working on a plan to spend that fund balance because there's a little bit more than what you're supposed to have there as well. And the capital projects fund had a negative $321,000 fund balance. That will be covered. That was mostly the chimney project, the emergency project, that'll be covered with state aid in the following year. So the last thing is, because the district did spend over $750,000 in federal funds, we did a single audit. We audited 2 major programs. One was the federal stimulus money, the ARPA funds, and all the funds that went along with that here in ESSER, and the school lunch fund. We had no findings in the major programs in the single audit, and we did give the district a management letter with some suggestions to improve the internal controls that have gone through real specifically with the audit committee. And I think that's everything I needed to say as quickly as I could say it so you guys didn't have to wait longer. Do you guys have any questions or anything for me?
Yeah, we'd just like to add real quick, just for the public and those who are watching, we mentioned a couple different committees here, audit committee, policy committee, so the board along with myself and at times other administrators, in terms of the audit committee, it's myself and Mr. Forbes, Mr. Hawk and Mr. Aldrich, who's not here tonight, met for this initial report as part of that audit committee. We spent about an hour and a half really digging into the details. As you might have noticed from past meetings, Mr. Hawk and Mr. Aldrich are pretty thorough, especially around the financial pieces attached to the district, so there's a lot of questions. And I know we're moving quickly here tonight, and this is kind of a summary, but please know that committee really digs into the numbers and asks a lot of questions to thoroughly understand the figures and feel like it's appropriate to bring it forward to the board here tonight. So, yeah, anything else from anybody?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Napoli, for coming in tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate it. So I'll need a motion to approve this. So, need a motion for that? Ms. Gullo, and a second? Ms. Paul. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. Next, we have to approve items pertaining to the 2021-22 external audit report. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor? Mr. Hawk, and a second?
Second.
Mr. Marshall, thank you. Does this go to Mr. Forbes for explanation?
Yeah, I think that'd
or-
be helpful, and I can follow up if there's
Okay.
anything.
Part of the submission of the audit report to the state is that we want a board motion approving the management letter, which indicates what the comment was, who's responsible for fixing it, and the approximate timeline to that effect. So each of these, single audit was the federal grants and cafeteria that Laura mentioned, and then the corrective action plan, and management letters is the audit as a whole. So we'll submit all that and then make the state action.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and then back to Mr. Forbes. Budget status report and revenue status report.
Yes, the budget status report, I don't really have any comments on. We've talked about pretty much monthly what we're looking for and what we're tracking in terms of special education costs, fuel, utilities, and so forth. Mr. Hawk had asked at the last meeting, on the dashboard, I could add a column showing year-to-date expenditures, which I did, other than I mislabeled it as 23-24, which should be 22-23, which is the second from the right. So we'll update that every time we get a dashboard and we'll get an entry of that. As far as the revenue report, not a ton of action. We had to book in the October teacher's retirement system, which is a two-sided entry. One side goes expense, one side goes revenue. There's no actual change of funds there. That's $476,000. We'll do that again for the third and final payment in November. And then we also received $79,000 in the DLT supplemental lottery aid.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? And that brings us to the treasurer's report. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Ms. Balforda, and a second?
Second.
Ms. Cullen. Ms. Forbes.
So that's just the bank reconciliations for October. There were no issues there. Everything else.
Great, okay. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that brings us to approving contracts from outside agencies. There's a contract between the University of Rochester and Fredonia Central School for administrative coaching services for the 22-23 school year, totaling $28,400 as presented. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Mr. Marshall.
Second.
Ms. Cullen, thank you. Dr. Ziliak, any comments?
Yeah, and I appreciate the comments from, the questions from Mr. Ludwig tonight, so I wanted to have a chance to respond to them. So, you know, this idea of coaching, and I think he had made a comment about, you know, graduating, or do you get to a point where you don't need coaching? And the idea here, at least from my perspective, is that we're always thinking about and focusing on continuous improvement. And that, in my mind, that coaching cycle doesn't end at some point in time, even if we, as we do, have a great administrative team, a veteran administrative team with many years of experience in several different positions, in some cases in several different school districts. But there's always that idea of our field of employment, our field of study is constantly changing, and there's things that are happening, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that we're up to date in those things, and that there is somebody who can provide some neutral, reflective dialogue in the course of a school year. And that's really the approach that's taken by the U of R. It's not let me tell you what to do as an administrator, let me tell you what you should be doing. It's more about a conversation, hopefully about things that are going on. Just a couple things that I've engaged my coach around are negotiations with several different units over the last couple of years, speaking about our math curriculum review and what experience they might have with that or suggestions they might have. I'm currently talking a little bit about our literacy review, and again, not being an elementary teacher or administrator, I'm trying to learn, and my coach coach has some expertise here that's been helpful. And we're also talking right now about long-term planning and how do we take a look at the good work that's happening in the district right now. Again, we have an updated mission vision. We have some good priorities at the building level this year. And how do we turn that into a thought process over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So it seems to be something that's valuable. There is an increased cost. I think that's a result of just increased costs in general. The other thing we did this year is in the past we've had one person be a coach for everybody. And there's some upsides to that, but one of the downsides is that that person may have never been in the position of the person that they're coaching. So this year we tried to adjust to make sure that the people who are coaches have been in the position of those that they're coaching. So if somebody's coaching a middle school principal, that person's been a middle school principal and can relate to that. In terms of the cost, yeah, I can see somebody saying, wow, $28,000. This again is BOCES aidable. So roughly a little over 70% eventually comes back to us. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's a fairly small investment for a potential pretty big gain. And that's...
Can you just remind me, because it's 12 or 13 people that are covered under that contract?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's...
Yeah, when you break it down to per person, after the BOCES aid, yes, it's a pretty small amount.
Continuing an investment, it's...
And one thing somebody shared with me recently was, you think about professional athletes, who some of them have been in their career many years, continue to have coaches. And this isn't unusual or something that's not warranted, or we don't see other applications in other fields. So.
How frequently does each person meet with their coach?
Yep. Now, we got a little bit of a late start this year, kind of adjusting to the new coaches. By the end of the year, we equal out to once a month. However, most of the coaches are pretty flexible and are willing to add a few sessions if that is warranted or needed or requested. I think they recognize that, there's a little bit of flexibility in all this.
So what would happen if we didn't approve this? They've already been meeting.
I think we have a track record of supporting this.
That's a question.
And I did talk about that with the person, and I just said, do you want to wait until we get there? And they said no. If something were to happen and that didn't get approved, we understand that maybe we they extended themselves into a situation that might not come to fruition, and I think everybody's comfortable knowing that. That's part of any board, that things eventually need to be approved, and until they are, nothing's official, and nothing's fully in place until that happens. And I think they were willing to trust the process, so to speak.
Would you want to possibly move this up in our board agenda then? When do they start dealing? I mean, so this says 22, 23, so June is the end of 22.
Yep.
21, 22. Yep. So when should we put this on our board packet?
Yeah, I think it should be probably late summer, the beginning of the school year. I think the adjustment from one person to several took some time.
And then, so to the instructors, just give me some insight, and everybody here, who are your instructors? Are they retired people? Are they standing supervisors or administrators currently? How does that work?
A little combination of both. You have some who work for the U of R and are engaged in teaching classes there. You have some retired folks who continue to be active in the field, maybe do some interim work, some consulting, and then you have some people who are still working. I know we have superintendent from Fairport, superintendent from West Irondequoit, involved in our coaching, just as a couple of examples of of the caliber of people that we're trying to connect with.
And do they have credentials they have to keep up, as you were mentioning earlier, with all the new environment in education? Do they have certain aspects that they have to follow and keep up on? Or
Yeah.
are they?
Not, I mean, in terms of their certification or anything like that, that's completed. I think all of these people have demonstrated that they continue to learn and grow on their own. And we also trust the U of R to select people who will do a nice job and who are engaged in the learning as well. And I think that's part of the agreement too, is that they're connecting to their network to have people available.
Thank you.
Any other questions? It sounds like it's been enhanced this year with the individual coaching, having individuals in their areas for a cost under $10,000 to the district, I imagine, right?
Yep,
Roughly? So,
absolutely.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we're going to amend the motion to approve contracts from outside agencies for a student paid internship position with Mrs. Piper in clinical school psychology. We have an original motion, amended motion. They look identical, Mrs. Slagle.
Yeah, well, actually, this comes out of the audit, actually, in that, in our first motion, you'll notice that there is not the actual name of Ms. Cunningham. And, in order to pay people, they would like us to be specific and make sure they know who we're talking about. So really, the difference is in the second motion, you see Aubrey's name there.
Right. Okay. Well, first I need to get a motion to bring that to the table. Mr. Hawk, and a second?
Second.
Mr. Marshall, thank you. Any questions on this? Looks like a very valuable talk about cost savings, an internship, school psychology, that's fantastic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that brings us to and approve the revised substitute rates for the remainder of the 2022-23 school year. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table? Ms. Gullo, and a second?
Second.
Mr. Marshall. Dr. Zoliak, any comments?
Again, as we talked about last meeting and have chatted about before, increase in minimum wage is happening at the turn of the new year here. And these increases keep us on pace at least with those wages and make sure that we're in compliance in anything regarding those increases.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. Next, under personnel, we need to approve a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from Sylvia Rowe, a typist, 2, effective April 1st, 2023. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table? Ms. Cullo, thank you. And second?
Second.
Mr. Hawk, thanks. Dr. Zoliak?
Yeah, in a moment I'll turn it over to Mrs. Piper and anybody else who's worked with Sylvia that I might not totally be aware of, but appreciating getting to know Sylvia. In my time here, she's been at Wheelock, and it's just a great resource, a very pleasant person, and just does her job without a whole lot of fanfare and no need for a lot of attention. 24 years of service, we certainly want to recognize that and thank Sylvia for her time and efforts and dedication to the district. Mrs. Piper.
Thank you. Sylvia will be missed for sure. She definitely has a long history of Fredonia. I often ask her questions about what happened in the past, and she can bring me up to speed with different protocols and whatnot. But Sylvia is just, like Brad said very well, the quiet soul that does always politely and kindly does the right thing. The kids are happy to see her. She does her job. She does it well. Doesn't create drama, just adds to the joy and the culture that we lack, and she will be missed. I mean, tough shoes to fill. Tough shoes to fill, honestly.
Well, we wish her all the best in her retirement. Thank you, Ms. Piper. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, near the end. Goodness. That brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, just wanted to draw your attention to the s'more again that we put out this week, and kind of probably our last edition before the new year. Across the district, not to steal any thunder, but we've had a variety of music concerts as well as events and activities, and we absolutely appreciate our student musicians as well as our faculty who've done a great job preparing for those events and really putting on a great show and really highlighting the great work that happens across our music program here. So thanks to everybody who's involved in that. In terms of my message that was mentioned by the SUNY Fredonia students, you know, when we got into our priorities and the things that we're focusing on, I kind of put them into the s'more in installments, and this is sort of the start of a new installment, and this is really just thinking about, you know, we're working hard within the district to create a sense of belonging for both students and adults. And I thought a little bit about what does that word belonging be, and there's a few different definitions, but the one that I thought fit our district best is a sense of being part of something larger than yourself, or feeling like you are an important member of a group. And being part of this accepted community allows us all to feel a greater connection to those around us. When we have the support of others, and we know we're not alone in this, we become more resilient, and we're able to become our greatest selves, as we say in our updated statements. A sense of belonging is crucial to our happiness, our mental well-being, our physical health, and even longevity. It gives everyone a sense of purpose and meaning. Research has shown that the loss of belonging or not feeling connected to others can be associated with stress, illness, and even depression. Some of the work I've done in my background is attached to William Glasser, who was an American psychiatrist who actually passed away in 2013, and he developed this theory of choice theory. And he believed and developed this theory that said, you know, behavior is chosen, and that all human behavior is driven by a desire to satisfy 5 basic human needs. This includes the need to survive, to be loved and belong, to be powerful, to be free, and to have fun. So he went on to share that, you know, this idea of love and belonging includes this drive to connect with other people, such as friends, families, co-workers, pets. Now that we have a therapy dog on board, and those we interact with on a daily basis. And he further stated that when a sense of belonging exists, those involved can maximize their potential both personally and professionally. So back when we were updating our mission, vision, and core beliefs, as you know, we thought long and hard about all of those terms and words and phrases that were attached to that, and we included words that really support this idea of belonging: respect, inclusivity, diversity, support, resilience, honor, growth. So we're really trying to come back to and highlight this idea of how do we develop, enhance, and then sustain a feeling of belonging for everybody in the district. And we're really welcoming everybody to be part of this process and be an active participant in developing this culture. As we come up on other meetings, we'll talk more about this and talk a little bit more about some of the terminology attached to this. And I think it's a key part of any school district, and I think we have a culture of belonging and really looking to, again, develop and enhance it is what we're after at this point. Beyond that, I would just wish everybody a happy holidays. I hope you enjoy your time with family and friends, and really enjoy taking a moment to spread goodwill and be thankful for everything that we have. So happy holidays to all, and unless you have any questions, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ziliaks. Okay, that brings us to public comment. Looks like I drove them all away, except for the observer. Thank you for staying. So I think there's no need to read that. So that brings us to around the table. Boy, I don't know who to choose. Ms. Palforma.
I have nothing tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cullen.
No, I have nothing. I'm sorry I missed Jerry's presentation, but I enjoyed the paper copy that we got, so I did read it thoroughly.
Great, thank you.
And there's other info in the backup as well. So,
Great, okay.
Mr. Hall?
Went to the Christmas concert that my granddaughter was involved in Friday, and then got to see a bunch of happy kids. Just happy to be up there and singing away. And I thought the parents were excited too.
Oh, yeah. And the grandparents.
Sitting at the edge of their seats. So
the grandparents too, probably,
yeah.
So, yeah. No, our concerts are fantastic, so, yeah.
Nice kudos.
That's great. Mr. Marshall?
Just along those same lines, was at the orchestra and the band concerts on Thursday. And the same thing. Fantastic job by everyone involved.
That's great. Dr. Wright, anything tonight?
Oh, well, it's just been so fun to walk around the building and see just all the excitement happening, and the kids just so excited, and to see the teachers just as excited right in there with them. Ms. Slagle has up there on the screen, Mrs. Putnam had her annual St. Lucia celebration that we were invited to, and served coffee and treats and got to see some of their traditional things and the celebration with that. And then, we were walking around and just to see, like, I went into a classroom where some students had wanted to start a project, and that led to other students, and to see the teachers, like the freedom with like the expression and celebration and community all happening where they were all just encouraging each other. I walked into Mrs. Clark's room, and one of her students, wanted to share a poem with Dr. Ziliaks and I that he had just constructed, and it was just really neat to see this, just the joy and the happiness. We think of everything we've been through with COVID and the masks and everything else, but to see just the elation with the adults as much as with the students. And it was just really wonderful to kind of go room to room and, to walk around, not just today, but at different times. The middle school always has fun. They always have a good time happening there, and then the concert certainly. So it's just one of those times where it's just really, it's fun to see the joy of community. It's really special. Yeah.
Well, thank you and Dr. Ziliaks for being so present in the school, so visible. It's fantastic. Mr. Paschke, anything in the high school?
No, just happy holidays. Thank you for a great meeting. You did a great job for your first
Not
meeting.
done. Save it.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Trout?
Happy holidays. Hope you all get some time to spend with family and friends.
Thank you very much.
Same thing. We won't see you until the new year, so Happy New Year, and thank you for everything. Thank you.
Everybody wants to get out of here. That's good. Ms. Farrell?
Well, now I can't give my speech.
I know. Go ahead.
Darn it. No, I just wanted to say, December 5th, we had a state review in special education. We're waiting for the final report. There will be a couple of corrective action steps we have to submit that's related to post-secondary planning for students with disabilities, so that will be forthcoming. Other than that, we're continuing to do our best work, and I just wanted to make a quick comment about Sylvia Rowe. I feel like I have worked with Sylvia here since forever. I did my internship in school psychology decades ago, and she actually worked in the district I interned in, so we've known each other professionally, I think, at least throughout my career. So I feel like I know Sylvia pretty well, and I think that she is a hardworking person. She's humorous, and she's pleasant, and she's always caring and kind, and I just wanted to kind of publicly acknowledge her and congratulate her on her retirement.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Piper, it must be awesome in Wheelock this time
Oh
of
my
year.
gosh. Well, first of all, I'm in denial about Sylvia, so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, I've been asked, is today Christmas or is Santa coming tonight at least 50 times in the last 3 days. So, yeah, the level of energy and excitement is palpable. Great.
Yeah.
So, but happy holidays, everybody. Happy New Year.
That's great. Mr. Forbes?
Nothing this evening.
Nothing tonight. And Ms. Slater?
Nothing else, thank you.
Nothing. Okay. Well, Mr. Patchko, let's see if I can finish. Okay, so next regular meeting of the Board of Education is January 10th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the high school library. The board anticipates the need to enter an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to a particular personnel and contract negotiations. So we need to move into executive session, so can I have a motion to do that? Mr. Hawk, and a second? Second. I didn't hear.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Marshall? Or whoever. Ms. Balfour. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.